In our society, marriage sounds almost synonymous with long-term relationships. In other words, when you get married, you accept it mentally that you are going to associate yourself with a long-term relationship. As a result, we opt for stability over novelty. Since it involves challenges, sometimes long-term relationships are something many of us dream of. But unfortunately, for some people, they don't work out. That is why some marital relationships fail midway. However, most importantly, what makes these long-term relationships fail for certain individuals? Is it something about the person, the relationship, or maybe the role of sex? In this video, we'll explore why long-term relationships sometimes don't work and how sex plays a role in that. So let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to Novelty, a channel for intelligent and curious people like you. Before we proceed, let me tell you one thing. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. And if you have already subscribed, tons of thanks for your support.
For brevity, let us break the topic down in a few sections. Firstly, we will try to understand the nature of long-term relationships. In short, long-term relationships often start with burning passion, excitement, and the idea that forever is possible. But there is nothing that exists in this world which might be termed as forever. Why? Let me explain a little bit. For instance, our passions have their limitations, especially when they are associated with our bodily flames. I can assure you that they do not last forever for sure. That is why the first year of marriage goes very well. After that, the sense of adventure and melodrama of finding something new in a new body dies down, making things monotonous and boring, insipid and uninteresting. But why? Because over time, maintaining that initial spark can become harder. Time, the fourth dimension of the universe as described by Albert Einstein, plucks out those sparks, making the whole bodily affair lifeless. For example, one of the reasons some relationships don't last is the change in how people relate to each other. After all, as we settle into routines, the excitement of the honeymoon phase fades. That is to say, it's natural, and we need to accept and adapt to it, but for some, well, this leads to utterly and butterly dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, without proper communication, small issues can build up and grow into bigger ones. As a result, it leads to disaster in some cases. For instance, in marriage, this turns to marital discord and finally divorce. On top of that, a key challenge is we, as people, change over time. As a result, our interests, values, and goals can shift, and this can make us grow apart, especially if we don't adapt together. Therefore, in a long-term relationship, adaptation is very important. And that is why the role of compatibility becomes a key issue. Consequently, that is why another reason why long-term relationships fail is a mismatch in compatibility. Remember, compatibility doesn't just refer to shared interests, but also to how we approach conflict, intimacy, and future plans. Some studies, like the one by psychologist Dr. John Gottman, show that couples who handle conflict in healthy ways are more likely to last. He found that couples who manage disagreements with respect, patience, and understanding have a higher chance of staying together. But those who argue aggressively or avoid conflict may not stay as strong. Therefore, the best solution is to be patient, listen to the counter-argument gently, logically, and face the conflict with reason. If there is no way out, please seek the help of the professionals. But above all, there is something that we often either misunderstand or ignore totally. Yes, I am talking about the role of sex in relationships. Because whether you believe or not, many believe that sex is central to a relationship. And while it's not the only factor, and that is true, it can certainly influence our long-term partnership. The role of sex in relationships is very complex. It's not just about physical pleasure. It's about emotional connection, intimacy, and trust. That is to say, we need to understand it properly and make ourselves ready to accept the reality that over time, the sexual connection diminishes. As a natural law, it is bound to happen. This can be due to many factors: changes in physical appearance, hormonal changes, stress, or simply growing tired of the same routine. Dr. Esther Perel, a well-known psychotherapist, has spoken extensively about the paradox of intimacy. She says that while closeness and familiarity are vital, they can also decrease desire. Too much familiarity can make the relationship feel more like a friendship than a romantic partnership. So how can we tackle this inevitable situation? Well, the answer is communication is key. When the sexual connection weakens, the role of communication becomes even more and more important. Research shows that couples who openly talk about their needs, desires, and struggles are more likely to keep their bond strong. But talking about sex isn't easy for everyone. For instance, people often feel embarrassed or assume their partner already knows what they want, which is actually not true. In short, this lack of open communication can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, and eventually, feelings of neglect. If one person feels their emotional and physical needs aren't being met, it can create distance. Over time, the distance grows and the gap becomes bigger and bigger, and finally this might lead to a breakup. Besides, there are some impacts of external stressors also. What is that? Let me try to explain in simple language. External stress is a factor that affects long-term relationships. For instance, work pressures, financial difficulties, family issues, or health problems can take a toll on a couple. When life gets tough, it's become difficult for partners to focus on each other's needs. Dr. Laura Berman, a sex and relationship therapist, emphasizes that external stress can lead to a decline in intimacy. In a short-term relationship, one-night stand, it doesn't matter at all. But in a long-term relationship, consider marriage as an example. Partners might feel exhausted, distracted, or emotionally unavailable. This can cause resentment and a breakdown in the end. However, these reasons, which we have taken into account, are quite reasonable. In fact, they sound quite logical. But recently, another great stressor has emerged out of nowhere. Yes, the social media. The ubiquitous presence of social media that holds our attention by pulling at our head so vehemently that we cannot drag our eyes away from it. So far, we have not included the role of social media in our discussion, right? Therefore, let's include the fear of missing out, FOMO, and temptations, which are very, very important. Because of the presence of social media, some people also experience what's called the fear of missing out, or FOMO. In today's world, we are constantly exposed to new people, experiences, and opportunities, especially on social media. Consequently, this can lead to dissatisfaction with the current relationship. Some may wonder if there's someone better out there, or if there are other experiences they're missing. As an inevitable outcome, this temptation can cause some individuals to lose sight of what's important in their long-term relationship, seeking novelty over stability. In the context of sex, this might also manifest as a desire for variety or the excitement of a new partner. Suddenly, the memories of the first-year excitement of discovering a new body start shaking the foundation of balance. Certainly, a section of people get tempted and surrender to the automatic impulse. During those crises, we should not forget the importance of effort. Why? Because despite these challenges, it's important to remember that many long-term relationships can work with effort. Relationships evolve over time, and so do the people in them, as we can think of relationships as containers that hold people together. But these containers are not like other three-dimensional boxes guarded by walls with a fixed ceiling. It has another intangible dimension called time, and that is why we call it a long-term relationship. That is why we are talking about stability over novelty. When couples are willing to put in the work, Whether it's improving communication, exploring new ways to connect emotionally or physically, or seeking counseling, they can often find new depths to their bond. Consequently, this bond bends the fourth dimension, which we refer to as time, making it stretch and adjust with every challenge that we face together. Finally, the question is there hope for long-term relationships? If you came so far, you might have your own opinion. So, what's the takeaway? Of course, the reason some long-term relationships don't work is multifaceted. It involves changes in compatibility, communication breakdowns, stress, external temptations, and sometimes a shift in the sexual dynamic. However, this doesn't mean all hope is lost, because relationships take effort, flexibility, and a willingness to grow together. It's a never-ending journey where understanding the role of sex, communication, and external pressures can help you better navigate a long-term partnership. While some relationships do end, many continue to thrive by adapting to the changes life throws at them. To sum up, it takes time. So give it that time it needs. Make it timeless. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts and questions in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and remember, relationships are a journey, not just a destination. Meet you in the next video. Till then, take care and stay safe.